Welcome back. At this moment, arguments are about 2 hours away in a case that will determine whether states can block Medicaid funding from being used at Planned Parenthood. In 2018, South Carolina's governor issued an executive order, and in it, he deemed abortion clinics enrolled in the Medicaid program, quote, unqualified to provide family planning services. Now, there are two Planned Parenthood locations in South Carolina, one in Columbia and one in Charleston, and they provide services besides abortions, and Medicaid funds usually cannot be used for that procedure specifically. CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman is here with me in Studio 57 to break down this case, and it's made its way all the way to the Supreme Court. Katrina, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And this all seems to hinge on a law called the Medicaid Act. So what really is at issue?
Errol, what's being argued today in court is really a technical issue. It's whether people who are beneficiaries of Medicaid can sue in federal court to enforce a provision of the Medicaid Act that lets them choose the qualified provider of their choosing. But what's really going on here is that South Carolina is targeting Planned Parenthood because they provide abortions. So even though Medicaid funding is not used generally for abortion, only in instances where the mother's life is threatened or rape or incest, Planned Parenthood really uses those Medicare funds to take care of all sorts of other services, women's health, they do cancer screenings, they provide all of this for Medicaid beneficiaries, but South Carolina feels that essentially by giving this Medicaid funding to Planned Parenthood, they're subsidizing the abortions that are taking place there.
And we had discussed this topic as we have talked about the abortion debate nationwide. When it comes to places like Planned Parenthood, only really a single percentage of their services are focused on that procedure. Most of what they do is completely unrelated.
Exactly, and that's why this could be devastating for Planned Parenthood, because if they can't provide all these other services, they can't sustain their locations in South Carolina. And if the Supreme Court rules in favor of South Carolina, this could become a widespread issue across the United States.
Talk more about that, because depending on how this case is decided, there could be a national precedent. What would it be?
Absolutely. So this could set a precedent in a couple ways. One, it could impact Planned Parenthoods across the country, because if South Carolina is able to restrict using Medicaid funds at Planned Parenthood, so can other states. But it could also impact other services, because this is really just about whether Medicaid beneficiaries have the right to choose a qualified provider. So, a state could decide that other areas are not also qualified to provide services for Medicaid beneficiaries. And we also have to remember, Errol, this is low-income people who are being affected here. They're the ones who qualify for Medicaid. They're the ones who need to use those funds for these services.
Really important detail. I know you'll continue to watch this. Katrina, thanks so much.
Thank you.